Requested by Ratsbone96.
Christmas,
Abed's
Christmas,
Uncontrollable
Christmas,
Christmas is
Christmas,
beautiful.
Christmas, 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 Christmas. Oh wait, I'm an adult. Oh God, it's Christmas. I still love the holidays,
$700?
even if they are very expensive, and nothing can really match the excitement of Christmas morning at 10 years old.
Yeah, it kind of
But
peaks
I
there.
try my best to keep the Christmas spirit alive, even if I
Trademark.
have to drag it screaming from under the bed. And what better way to keep the Christmas spirit alive than to indulge in some good old Christmas stories?
Never even
Christmas
heard of
books, Christmas
Abed.
movies, Christmas Hallmark movies, because those belong in a category of their own.
Yes, yes,
the
they
beloved
do.
Christmas special. These were the things that I was most excited about during the holidays. They'd never played them at any other time, and seeing my favorite cartoon characters save Christmas in their own ways was a delightful treat every December.
Yeah.
But things have changed since I was a kid, and now there's really only one Christmas special that I get excited to watch around Christmas time. Community's Christmas special. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. Now,
I've only seen one episode of Community.
Just make a 30-minute long video about Community like 3 months ago, and then I'd be like, yeah, and
I'm making another.
what are you gonna do? Fight me? You gonna fight me right now? You gonna fight me? You gonna fight, bro? Seriously, I need to know if we're gonna fight, because my mom's picking me up at 5, and my stepdad's got my phone, so if we're gonna fight, I need ample time to communicate to her that she needs to wait before... But seriously, this has a Christmas pterodactyl. How could I not?
Oh, that sounds
Abed's
awesome.
Uncontrollable Christmas is an homage and parody of Christmas specials past, most apparently old Rankin Bass claymation movies.
Of course, it's the only one they ever make fun of.
And not only is it easily one of the funniest episodes of the show, it's also one of the most emotional, heartfelt, and beautiful. And in my attempts to find that Christmas spirit, I wanted to go in detail and explain scene by scene what makes this special so wonderful, so incredible, and so beautiful. And of course, that means that if you haven't watched Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, you should know that I am going to go into an uncomfortable amount of detail as to what happens in the episode, so...
I have
you might
no
wanna go
plans
watch
on
the
watching
episode
it, so no.
But for the rest of us, without further ado, this is Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. A wonderfully smart, heartfelt, and beautiful look at Christmas as a phenomenon and as a personal touchstone.
And this is the most important Christmas in the history of the universe. I'm assuming that's why we're all stop motion animated.
I vote we let it go.
The episode begins with a little jab at typical college policy regarding Christmas and the holiday season.
You do, of course, have a constitutional right to lend this season the significance of your choosing in any of our designated holiday zones.
Basically,
Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever else you celebrate in December is something that's been pushed into a corner by Greendale. The season is something that isn't allowed to have any significance on campus. Meaning within Christmas or any other holiday for that matter is discouraged by the world around our characters.
yep.
Speaking of which, you may or may not
No
know
religion
that they're all
ever.
animated. In the same tradition as Rankin Bass Christmas movies, Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas is placed into the medium of claymation. Ironically,
Well,
that's
stop
the
motion,
better
but,
animation
eh.
in the films it's referencing.
Get the brat out of here!
But they didn't just make it claymation and call it a day, or rather, they didn't just ignore the fact that we've suddenly jumped mediums. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas does something very interesting. It all takes place from the perspective of the character of Abed Nadir, who sees the entire world around him as an animated special. It's immediately established that Abed is a big fan of Christmas.
Interesting way of
especially
looking at it,
Muslim,
okay.
and for reasons that aren't yet clear, Abed is now seeing the world as though it were a stop-motion animated Christmas special. I already went into a great amount of detail about Abed in my original Community video, so I'm going to keep it brief here. Abed has a hard time understanding his emotions and communicating them with others, using TV and film as a conduit to express his feelings and better understand the people.
So this makes perfect sense in
Whatever
character.
is causing him to see the world as claymation is probably some emotional event that he didn't know how to deal with. And so, what better way to escape that emotional event than to regress into a type of story that's been done over and over and
It
over
makes
again,
some semblance of
going on a
sense.
magical journey to find the meaning of Christmas. It's a story that's been done so many times in so many mediums,
Yep.
all in extremely similar ways, all to profit on the childhood excitement of Christmas and the desperation of adults to regain that sense of excitement they've lost.
Even though they never will.
It's easy. It's safe. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Whatever Abed is dealing with, he needed to make the world around him less complicated to deal with. After making the group aware of his delusion, they all become increasingly worried, especially Britta. So, Abed is taken to Professor Duncan, a professor of psychology played by John Oliver, who makes occasional appearances in Community. It's made
Before he got
immediately
obsessed with
apparent that
saying
Duncan
Trump
is
every
not
5
in it
minutes.
For helping Abed deal with his still unknown problem, rather is he
It's
interested
fine.
in
This
getting
is
a
slowed
book deal
down.
about
No,
Abed's
actually, it looks kind of
case.
slowed down, so never
Abed is
mind.
accused of his perspective being a delusion, and he pushes
I
back
got used to
against
the
that,
fast-moving lips.
misinterpreting something Duncan says as figuring out that his goal is to find the meaning of Christmas. And so, he gets up to leave, only to be stopped by Britta, who makes him aware that if he isn't fixed, he could potentially be kicked out of school. Something that's very obviously upsetting her. But Abed replies very blankly,
Why would I want to be in a school that hates Christmas?
he's the good guy in this Christmas special, the one that's trying to bring the meaning of the
Yeah,
season
main
to
character.
people who all want to stop him from doing so, just as so many other Christmas specials have done before. Again, he's making things simple, black and white. The easier all of these conflicts are to understand, the better it is for him. But the main takeaway from this scene is that it most clearly reviews the motivations for two of our central characters, Britta and Duncan. Britta is deeply troubled by Abed's delusion and the potentially negative effects it can have. It belies Britta's legitimate desire to help others and how much she cares about Abed and what he's going through. She sincerely wants to help him more so than anyone else in the group. Duncan, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, caring very little for Abed's actual mental health, and instead is just trying to get a book deal out of it.
Naturally.
He will be our villain for the story, and yes, he will be very important later. Alright, sad quick Christmas song break.
Sad quick Christmas song. Sad quick Christmas snowman. Tragic day gone wrong. Sad quick Christmas song.
They got out of the way pretty
After following
early.
a guy he thinks is a snowman, Abed gets a text from Britta saying that the meaning of Christmas is in the study room. What he finds there, though, is a group therapy session where we get one of my personal favorite Pierce moments.
Surprise! Pierce, you promised not to do that. Surprise.
Speaking of Pierce, he's our most minor
Cute.
major character for this episode. There's not a lot to say about him yet, just note that he's very insistent that he's only here for the cookies.
I'm here for the cookie. Cookies? Like I said, I came for the cookies.
Abed is resistant to the idea of a therapy session, but Duncan manages to convince him it isn't therapy by playing into Abed's delusion and calling himself a Christmas wizard. You know, as you do.
Whatever
What I want to note
works.
here is that not only does Abed fit this
Abed's
sort of
fine with it.
delusion, he also takes complete control away from Duncan, who is trying to establish control himself.
With each breath, you'll feel
Beginning.
Right then?
Abed takes the idea of the Christmas wizard and formulates the idea that he can take them to Winter Wonderland, where the meaning of Christmas will be. Winter Wonderland itself being entirely in Abed's mind. Abed is in total control
No.
of this imaginary story, and I think that's indicative of the fact that this is Abed's coping mechanism. Whatever he went through to get here, this is how he's getting through it, and he thinks he knows how to get through it. He doesn't need anyone else adding to the story or helping him get through it. He thinks he knows where he's going and what he's supposed to do, and he won't let anyone do anything that compromises the journey he's convinced he has to go on. Even if that journey is too simple. Even if that journey ignores the complexities of the world and people around him. Even if he's wrong. Alright, now time for Winter Wonderland.
Let's move, folks. This isn't going to be fun, easy, or safe.
Right in the middle.
As we enter the episode's second act, we descend on the planet Abed, the most Christmassy planet around, showing once again how Abed is planting himself in this special as the hero who loves Christmas more than anyone else around. In order to complete the Christmas special, Abed imagines all of the group members as different toys. The two most important of these are Pierce being a teddy bear and Britta being a robot.
Of course.
Just keep that in mind. But for now, we just need to understand that Abed wants to make this whole story as similar to a Christmas special as possible. The other characters becoming toys being oddly evocative of Rudolph's Island of Lost Toys,
Yep.
which in and of
Misfit
itself is brilliant
toys.
based on the iconography of toys in typical modern Christmas tradition. On top of that, Abed believes that the meaning of Christmas will be in the North Pole. There must be something about Christmas specials that means something to him, maybe even something more than what TV and movies generally mean to Abed. And that is probably because Christmas specials, more than any other type of holiday special, are based on patterns. They are all effectively the same. Saving or finding the meaning of Christmas is always the main goal. There are always sidekicks that are based on Christmas icons like reindeer or toys or elves or Santa Claus or whatever. There's often singing, they are often animated. There are patterns here, and there is comfort in those patterns.
That's true.
These Christmas specials are very cookie cutter, and that's exactly why Abed is so determined to play into them, to base his coping after them, whatever it is he's coping with. Abed's connection to Christmas specials and the holiday they're based on
Like
stands
how
in
he
stark
tore into
contrast
the
to
world.
Duncan, who uses a Christmas pterodactyl. I mean, I love it, I do, but I think it's indicative of the fact that Duncan is not someone who cares about Christmas or Christmas specials if the only thing he could think of to take away baby Shirley was a pterodactyl. Oh, by the way, Shirley gets taken away, and so does Jeff. Moving on.
Shit.
Now characters step into Carol Canyon, where the flowers produce royalty-free Christmas carols, and Britta begins to question the sincerity of the Christmas season.
You guys know Jesus was born in the middle of April, right? The church moved his birthday to December so they could steal the solstice from the pagans.
Season's greetings.
Pagans invented everything, including breathing.
To start going into more detail about Britta's character. Britta is someone who lacks self-confidence.
Yeah, half the things about
She's
a
a
Christian stealing from pagan is bullshit.
Knowledgeable about all the world's problems and everything wrong with the state of society, but in that attachment to reality, she also knows how little she can do about it. She genuinely likes to help people, as we see in her sincere desire to help Abed, but she knows that the world around her is in turmoil, and she, as an individual, can't do anything about it. And so, ashamed of her own lack of activism, she hides her true self within, instead defining herself by her knowledge of the world's problems, rather than the shame she holds in her inability to fix it.
Hmm.
And
Which
that
is why
shame
she's a
extends
robot.
into her everyday life, constantly questioning her ability to even help her own friends. But as long as she doesn't let the rest of the world see how ashamed she is of herself, as long as she hides behind her knowledge of the facts, her metal shell of progressive thinking, no one will even notice that she's not good enough.
Oh, so she's relatable. Great.
I'm afraid that I'm not.
That's Britta's mindset. Living in constant fear that everyone will find out that she's not the person she wants to be. Christmas, to her, is just a joyful season for the sake of it while the rest of the world burns around the Christmas tree. And to give in to the idea of Christmas is to ignore the reality she uses as a shield against her own feelings of inadequacy. And with that knowledge, we come to the Cave of Frozen Memories. The Cave of Frozen Memories was not in Abed's vision of his winter wonderland, but he conceded to it as a favor for Duncan getting them there in the first place. Once again, Abed fits every outside force into his delusion. The cave is a place that is, as Duncan says,
We can observe suppressed experiences without being affected by them.
it is
Look
a
over
place Duncan
here.
plans to
It's
get
me
Abed
mocking
to
America
do
for the
what
500th
forced
time,
him to
despite the
escape,
fact that
but
they're paying
as
me
Abed
millions of
tends
dollars to
do,
mock them.
He turns it on Duncan, forcing him to relive his own childhood Christmas.
I'm reading Paddington books. Mom got me Paddington every year.
Where's your dad? It's Christmas, Professor. Where's your dad?
I don't know! We never know! Mom won't stop crying! I'm going to America with Grandpa!
And I'm going to mock them constantly and talk about Trump.
I think it also reveals something about Duncan as a character. The Paddington books he references, the way he gets them every year, it might be just a random detail, but I think it has more significance than that. It was a pattern. And as we've already established, there is comfort in patterns. Duncan looks back on his memory of that tradition with a warm glow and a nostalgic cadence, but when things turn to less comforting memories of his father being gone, he breaks down, he gets angry, he gets sad. For Duncan, Christmas was a wonderful pattern of traditions and Paddington books, perhaps a distraction from the worse-off reality of his much more broken and unpredictable childhood.
Most likely.
Reality broke that pattern and overshadowed the joy and love that Christmas could bring him. Emasculated, as Duncan will claim later, he storms out and Abed decides to destroy the cave, making that decision with an almost vindictive tone.
We don't need him. Never did. And nobody needs this cave. Initiate self-destruct.
Abed destroys the cave where the reality that could break his love for Christmas is hiding out, ready to pounce and eradicate his Christmas spirit, choosing to remain in his delusion. After setting the cave to self-destruct, he allows Troy, Annie, and Pierce
Which caves,
to
of
all
course,
out,
have.
but he blocks Britta from leaving,
What?
telling her that he can't let her move forward because she is ultimately on Duncan's side and lied to get him into therapy. And then,
Abed, they will kick you out of school. I was trying to save you.
Brit programmed badly, wires with fraying ends, functioning mad and sadly, no faith in herself.
That hits hard.
Ends.
I was trying to help you?
it's the tear. The tear gets me every time. I can't. All Britta wanted to do was help, but really, she couldn't. She's a character so terrified of vulnerability, so scared of people realizing how much of a fake and a sham she is, so scared that she isn't enough that she can't be enough.
And then
So,
she isn't enough.
She's left behind with what Abed perceives as her misplaced attempts to help him. Now on a train to the North Pole, Pierce goes
Polar
to the
Express
bathroom while
reference.
Abed inserts landmarks for Annie and Troy's religions. Nice touch.
Hmm.
The three of them begin to talk about the traditions of December holidays and how it can all be crazy and weird, and Abed
Yeah.
says this.
I like the rituals. My parents are divorced too. My mom's Polish. She loves Christmas. Every year she visits on the same day, December 9th. And every year we sit and watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer together. Every year.
But Abed, today is December 9th. It's the last day of classes.
Yeah, that can't be right. She comes every year. Today must be December 8th. She comes every year.
That's f***ing heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from Danny Pudi's wonderful performance. I really don't know how that man manages to insert so much emotion and character into such a monotone voice, but he does, and it's brilliant. It's also the way that he repeats it. Like, he knows the truth deep down, but all he wants to do is convince himself otherwise.
So this is what
He likes
got
the
him in this
rituals, as
fancy
he says,
land.
because as we've already talked about, the rituals and the traditions and the patterns, they comfort him. They mean something. And the idea that his mom wasn't going to come, the idea that his mom was going to break that tradition, that was what sent Abed over the edge.
And that's how we got
He couldn't
here.
handle the reality of the world around him, breaking apart the season that was supposed to be joyful and happy. It was supposed to be about family and being together, and yet it isn't anymore. Reality doesn't want to let it be that. And that, as well as Abed's fear of it, is no better represented than the way Abed reacts to Duncan's return in the train. He labels Duncan as a Christmas warlock who wants to destroy Christmas because he blames his sadness on it. Once again, this is overly simple and very typical in Christmas specials of the villains having over-exaggerated hatreds of Christmas time.
Yeah.
But the real deeper motivation is within the line Duncan says as Abed tries to run away from on the top of the train.
There's no more journey. It's just you against reality, and reality always wins.
Abed
Agreed.
isn't fighting for Christmas.
Too bad you're fighting it always.
And Duncan isn't fighting against it. It's a battle between reality and escapism. One man trying to get one
The
boy
irony of
to
John Oliver
understand
talking
that
about how
Christmas
reality
doesn't get to
wins.
absolve you of the pains that come with real life. Christmas doesn't get to be the escape it's always been.
Mm.
And to introduce reality into the season would be to destroy it altogether. Luckily for Abed, though, just as it seems that Duncan is going to win the day, Annie and Troy stop him, disconnecting the train cars and letting Abed escape. While Annie and Troy aren't too major of characters in this episode, it's worth noting that along with Abed, they are the youngest of the entire cast. Perhaps still trying to retain that Christmas spirit they're slowly losing as they get older.
Maybe.
Abed enters the train's front car, and Pierce follows from behind, his bathroom car mysteriously reappearing, almost like Abed wanted him to be there. And Pierce says this.
I didn't want to go home. It's depressing there this time of year.
Pierce is a character who is lonely.
Yeah.
And the rest of the show, he's a washed-up rich guy who's had one too many marriages and stepchildren. People have abandoned him left and right.
I guess I assume eventually they'll be rejected, so I, test people, push them until they prove me right.
For him, Christmas time doesn't get to be an escape either. In a lot of ways, he's a lot like Abed in that regard. Trying to let Christmas be that joyful escape from the hardships of life and the loneliness of his old age. He's someone who wants to come off as a big, strong, scary bear when he's really just a lonely guy looking for someone to hug.
It's teddy bear.
And he's really fooling nobody. Yeah. He was definitely just there for the cookies. Alright, we're nearly to the North Pole, but it's about to get really damn depressing, so let's postpone that sadness with a segment I like to call The Best Line from Every Character in Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
I think I thought this was going to be an
Working
ad.
title.
I'm taking a relaxation course next semester, and I was going to use the break to do all the reading in advance.
Wow. Somewhere out there, Tim Burton just got a boner.
I thought I made you.
Yeah, you made me need to cry in the shower tonight.
You're Brittabot.
Just go with it.
Bleep bloop.
Teddy Pierce.
Bleep bloop for me, too.
Advice. Stay honest, stay alert, and for the love of God, stay between the gumdrops.
Did you say my Christmas self was a baby? Are you sure you didn't say I was a Christmas angel? I think that must be what you said, right? Because you respect me too much to imagine me as a baby.
No, you're not. Snap out of it.
Whoa, who taught you therapy? Michael Jackson's dad?
Boy, we're learning to teleport, and we're helping our friend find the meaning of Christmas. Hey, you're actually grabbing me in real life, delinquent.
Okay, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Now back to
reality. And reality always wins.
What are we looking at?
Santa's workshop.
Santa's workshop.
Called it.
We arrive at Santa's workshop and find the meaning of Christmas in everyone's favorite way to wrap gifts, and in one of the show's funniest gags, it's the first season of Lost on DVD, which, according to Abed, is representative of lack of payoff. And sulking in the shadows, Duncan comes into the light, a Christmas card in his hand.
Abed, I can't make it this year. I have a new family now. You'll meet them one day. You're a man now. Take care of Dad. Wash your duper. Mommy's moved on. New family, new life.
Reality prevails. Reality always wins, just as Duncan said before. Reality has been reintroduced and Abed freezes over, it being implied that in the real world, the shock of being forced back into reality has pushed him into a catatonic state, unable to process that in the end, he was wrong. This was all a delusion. This was all a coping mechanism, and he can't save Christmas from all that pain as much as he wants to. And when Pierce calls Duncan out for doing this to Abed, Duncan says,
This is not my fault. This is what Christmas does to people. We put too much meaning into it, and it lets us down.
But Christmas has meaning, doesn't it? It's there. It's not a lie.
It literally stands for Christ's Mass. It isn't.
No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. And that
He's been a pain to edit.
He's right, isn't he? He's right. No matter what you do, Christmas doesn't get to be that thing it was when you were a kid.
No.
It doesn't get to be that escape from reality, that endless source of joy and happiness, that time where all the bad things in the world come to a halt and everyone gets to be happy, because it isn't that.
Life is never that.
Some people are alone on Christmas. For some people, it's just a reminder that someone doesn't get to be there anymore because they're gone for good. And the older you get, the harder that is to ignore, and that's not f***ing fair.
When is life ever fair?
It's just a lie. Santa Claus isn't real. The world's problems don't stop when Christmas comes back around. It's just an expensive capitalist marketing ploy, a label on a bottle of Coke. It doesn't mean anything. It never meant anything. We were just told that it did. I was told that it did, when really it's just a delusion.
No, there's meaning to it.
And all I can do is just watch holiday specials trying to regain that sense of Christmas spirit that I don't get to have anymore. Because I know better than that.
Welcome to being an adult.
I want to get that excitement back of waking up at 10 years old on Christmas morning. But that slips away farther and farther the older I get. As the years pass by, I realize more and more how much of a falsity Christmas always was. It was all a lie. And it always will
be. No, it won't.
The delusion you're trying to cure is called Christmas, Duncan.
It's the crazy notion that the longest, coldest, darkest nights can be the warmest and brightest. Yeah, and when we all agree to support each other in that insanity, something even crazier happens. It becomes true.
Works every year, like clockwork.
Maybe there is more to it than just that. Maybe Christmas is this insane thing that doesn't have any inherent meaning, but we, as human beings, like to put meaning into things when there isn't any. We like finding patterns and understanding why those patterns exist. We like understanding why things like Christmas can mean so much to us as individuals, and maybe even if all we're doing is inserting meaning into something that didn't already have it, maybe that meaning can become reality. All the members of the
Well, we
story
force
all
meaning into
believe
everything
in the
that's
idea that
man-made.
Christmas can mean something. Sing a little song about all the different things Christmas is for each of them as they blow Duncan away with their magic Christmas weapons they've conjured into reality. And then, when all is said and done, Abed is unfrozen and says a surprisingly profound thing.
I get it. The meaning of Christmas is the idea that Christmas has meaning, and it can mean whatever we want. For me, it used to mean being with my mom. Now it means being with you guys.
Christmas is something we put meaning into, and that meaning can be whatever we want it to be, really. Whatever we need it to be. And that meaning you give it or give anything at all is just as real as you make it out to be, because really, the only person it needs to be real to is you. Maybe our Christmas spirit doesn't have to dissolve, maybe it can just evolve. Maybe instead of being something so simple as just a happy time of year, perhaps Christmas can be a reminder that you are more than you think you are. That you're not as alone as you may think you are. That the people around you are the greatest gift anyone could ask for. Christmas is greater than the sum of its parts. It's a phenomenon that is shared by so many people and yet can have a profound personal impact. This special is about the struggle to understand that. It's about losing the love and excitement for Christmas we used to have and managing to find it again in a whole new way. It's a story that acknowledges the reality of what Christmas is and has always been, while still finding a level of hope within it. This special helped me find my Christmas spirit again. And maybe I'm just putting too much meaning into it, but I think that's kind of beautiful.
It is.
Alright everyone, it's time to do the Patreon shoutouts.
Okay, then I'll stop there. It was a nice thing to check out. Sure, man, fine holiday spirit and need to get it back. It's an interesting show. I haven't seen Community past the first episode, really, but, you know, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I can see why people like it. It's one of the few comedy series that go past the first season. It was clearly doing something right? Interesting tale. Christmas has their own meaning to everyone, and Hanukkah and all that jazz. It's an interesting moral. You give what morals you. It has the meaning you want it to. What does Christmas mean to me? It's a reminder of what I have. I have a family still, and friends and all that jazz. Even if there are some members of my family that may no longer be with me, I still have some that are, and the ones that aren't with me will be with me in spirit, and that's all I need to. They're with me in some regard. As long as their memory never dies, they aren't truly dead. At least how I look at it. Merry Christmas.